In the previous video, I continued improving the lighting after we had assembled the scene. In this video, I'll be adding textures and materials to our assets. Hi, my name is Ken Liang, and welcome to How to Make a Dark Souls Boss Room. Before I begin, I want to remind you that I've shared the links to the textures and materials that I will be using in this part of the tutorial. They are in the video's descriptions if you wish to download them. Are you ready? Let's begin. Let's start by giving the dome a new material. Add an image texture node and look for the dome texture that you've downloaded earlier. Switch to the UV editing tab and unwrap the dome's UV from the top view. Adjust the UV to match the center and scale it up to cover the full circle on the texture. Then, enable proportional editing and scale down the edge loops on the UV so that they are as evenly distributed as possible. Let's create a new material for the wall now. Just like before, use the Ctrl-Shift-T command to load in the PBR material for cobblestone. I'll use the Smart UV Unwrap here and tinker with the scale of the texture in the Texture Mapping node. If your texture's orientation is incorrect like mine, just rotate it by 90 degrees on the Z-axis in the Texture Mapping node. The arch bridges will share the same material as the wall, so select both objects and make sure that the wall is the one in active selection. Then hit Ctrl-L to bring up the linking options and select materials. We will need to unwrap the UV for the bridge too, so let's give it a Smart UV Unwrap as well. Notice that the textures are not showing as intended at the beveled corners because of the active modifier. Let's apply the modifier to bake the changes into the object data and unwrap the UVs again. The texture on the underside of the bridge is oriented incorrectly. Alt-click on the dividing edge of the face to select the whole stretch and rotate the corresponding UVs by 90 degrees in the UV editor. Make the adjustments if required so that it looks connected to the other side seamlessly. To copy the materials onto the other two bridges, select them all together and link them. But this time, we need to link the object data instead of the material, so that the UVs on the other bridges are identical as well. Also, this ensures that the modifiers are applied just like the first one that we worked on. Continue sharing the material for the passageway arch and edit the UVs. Since this object is modeled in a non-constructive way, it is impossible to have full control over how the UVs are projected without applying the modifiers first. As you can see, although Blender knows how to orient the textures correctly from the changes of the modifiers, it is impossible to adjust the scale of the textures with the UVs, unless we make the changes in the Texture Mapping node. But we don't want to do that, because it will also affect the other objects that share the same material. I'll leave it up to you, but I'm going to leave it as is since the object is so far away from the camera anyway. Remember to save your file now. We'll move on to texturing the assets that we've linked from the props blend file. Open the props blend file and give the candle a new material. Give it a slightly off-white color and a little bit of subsurface to make it look like wax. For the flame, I'll use an emission shader and give it a bright orange color. Dial up the strength and saturation value. It'll have a nice glow effect when we turn on the bloom feature in Eevee later. Make a new material for the chandelier and load in the rusted metal PBR textures. I'll use the Smart UV Unwrap again to quickly give it a UV. I'm not going to spend much time on the texture details since they will not be so clearly visible, as long as the textures do not appear stretched. Select the other metal objects and link their materials together. This is what I meant when I said texture stretching. Let's fix the UV. The rest of the assets are mostly metal objects, so assign them the same material and fix the UVs if necessary. Once you are done, save the file and return to the main scene. If you have the scene still open while working on the props, simply save the file and reload it to see the changes that you have made to the linked objects. Let's jump to the blend file for the scanned models now. I want all of these models to look like stone statues. So let's create a new material and use the rock PBR textures. Since these are very high resolution models, it would be unwise to use the UV mapping without retopologizing them first. I'm not going to retopologize them, so let's use the generated mapping instead. To fix the texture stretching, we can change the projection method from flat to box. Repeat the changes on each texture image that the material uses. Now it's just a matter of assigning the same material to all the other assets. Save the file and return to the main scene once more. Again, reload the scene to update the changes. The main statue in the scene can share the same stone material from the linked assets. You can look for it in the material drop-down list. That's all for this part of the tutorial. In the next video, I will be moving on to the polishing phase where I will apply the final touches before calling it done. Thank you for watching, save your file, and I'll see you in the next video.